Hello everybody, welcome back to NEET Biology by PEBBLEZ Pedagogy. Today I am here to discuss with you the second part of the chapter 2, or rather the second video for chapter 2, that is biological classification. In the previous video we have learned, or rather discussed about various biological classifications given by Aristotle. One was given by Linnaeus, the other one by Whittaker. We would continue to discuss Whittaker's system of classification, wherein he classified living organisms into 5 kingdom classifications, right? So today we would be discussing about kingdom Monera. But before going into that, we would have a slight discussion or introduction to this particular topic. Initially, all organisms having cell wall, I will rewrite this, all organisms having cell walls were grouped into one group which included organisms such as bacteria, okay, then fungi, blue-green algae, I would be calling that as BGA in the future if you'd like to know the abbreviations that I make use of, then the mosses, the ferns, gymnosperms, and angiosperms. So here I would like to erase this one, rewrite it for your better understanding. Alright, so before going into Whittaker's kingdom Monera, I would like to tell you that earlier classifications included all organisms having cell wall grouped into a category called as plants, okay, and this would have initially included bacteria, fungi, blue-green algae, mosses, ferns, gymnosperms and angiosperms. Later on, as and when people started learning more about these organisms, they realized that all these organisms which were grouped under plants, though they all had cell walls, their cell walls were made up of different components, okay? Then their levels of organization, you may refer back to my previous video to know what is this, okay, what levels of organizations are. The levels of organizations were different, as in some of them had single cells, some of them had many cells together forming tissues, some of them had organs, while some of them had various tissues, right, cells, organs, and these were all totally different, isn't it? Now some of these organisms had varied cell wall composition, as in some of them had chitin as the substance that made up the cell wall. For a few of these organisms, the cell wall was made up of polysaccharides, right? And then the mode of nourishment or mode of nutrition, or the manner in which these organisms belonging to the plant category had, I would like to repeat, the mode of nutrition for those organisms included in this group called as plants was varied, as in some of them were autotrophs, some of them were heterotrophs, We would come back to all this slightly later. You need not have to worry about that. So in a nutshell, I can say that all these organisms were totally different. They did not fit into a group or a kingdom having similar characteristics. So this was totally taken off. So this was just for your understanding. I would like to erase this so that I don't confuse you in the future. This was just for your understanding on what made classification a very important deal, isn't it? Okay, right. Now, oh, chapter 2 has also gotten erased. No problem. Fine, unless and until the biological classification remains. Okay, now moving on to the kingdom Monera, which was grouped by Whittaker in 1969. In the present chapter, biological classification, you will learn about Monera, then Protista, and fungi or fungi. You will be learning about Plantae and Animalia in the chapters 3 and 4, I believe, if I'm not wrong. Okay, now let us learn the general or salient features of organisms that are grouped into the kingdom Monera. All organisms which belong to Monera have single cells. That means they are unicellular. Unicellular. Right? That means all organisms are made up of single cells. Okay? Now, then what is the level of organization? That is, they are made up of only cells. That is, they are having cellular level of organization. Next, do they have a nucleus? No, they do not have nucleus or nuclear membrane. I would rather write R properly, otherwise it might tend to confuse you. No nucleus or nuclear membrane. That means it is a prokaryote. That means all organisms belonging to Monera do not have nucleus or nuclear membrane. They all are prokaryotes. Okay, then the manner in which the organisms belonging to Monera procure or obtain nutrition, we'll call it mode of nutrition, is autotrophic, or heterotrophic. Let me help you understand what autotrophic and heterotrophic means, and are there any types in autotrophic and heterotrophic modes of nutrition. Some of you might already know this, but just to help you reiterate, understand, let me elaborate this for you. Autotrophic, auto meaning self, organisms which can synthesize food on their own. Food on their own are called as autotrophs. There can be two types of autotrophs. One are called as phototrophs or photosynthetic organisms. Most of you would be knowing what photosynthetic is, and the other one is chemosynthetic. Just understand here, it is synthesis of food in the presence of light, whereas here, as some of you would have already guessed, it is synthesis of food with the help of chemical reactions. I repeat, the different modes of nutrition. We are discussing various modes of autotrophic nutrition. Auto meaning synthesizing food on their own. Okay, now autotrophs can be either photosynthetic in nature or chemosynthetic in nature. That means organisms synthesize their own food, might be with the help of light. If they make use of light to synthesize their food, then they are called as photosynthetic. If they make use of chemical reactions, then they are called as photosynthetic organisms. Now moving on to the another mode of nutrition, that is heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Heterotrophs are those organisms, or it is a type of nutrition wherein the organisms are dependent on other organisms for food, such as human beings. We cooking food in the kitchen doesn't mean that we are synthesizing food. We always make use of raw materials, which may be either from plants or animals, isn't it? So we belong to a group of heterotrophs. Okay, we cannot produce our own food if we stand in the sunlight for long, isn't it? So we belong to heterotrophs. Heterotrophs can be saprophytes, or parasites. Okay, here saprophytes are those organisms which depend on dead and decaying plant or animal matter. Dead plant or animal matter, as in there are some fungi and bacteria which derive nutrition from dead plants and animals. They are called as saprophytes. We neither are saprophytes, we are not nor parasites. Okay, we'll discuss about our kind of nutrition or our mode of nutrition later on. We belong to a major class of heterotrophs, but we as in human beings are neither saprophytes or parasites. You might have heard of parasites. Okay, it is like these organisms are dependent on living plants or animals to obtain their source of energy. For example, a few fungi can infest or attack the plants and always keep deriving nutrition from these living plants, okay, for their own purposes, to survive and thrive and also to reproduce. So such, they do not depend on, or they don't kill a plant to which they are attached to, plant or animal to which they are attached to, but rather they will keep drawing the nutrition from these living plants or animals to be able to sustain themselves. They are called as parasites. Okay, I hope this is clear for all of you, right? So now I'll give you a few examples of organisms which are categorized or which are grouped into the kingdom Monera. It includes bacteria, almost all the bacteria. Now think of where you can find bacteria. You can pause the video for a minute, take your time, revisit the concept and also ponder over where you can find bacteria. Okay, now I think you have come back from your thought process, and you can as well say that bacteria are found everywhere. Now, does that mean they survive in harsh climates as well? Yes, of course they do. Now, I will reiterate a few points which I've already discussed. Okay, we have continued with biological classification, that is chapter 2. Okay, all right. We initially had a small little discussion on a classification system which classified or which grouped all living organisms having cell walls into a group called as plants. It included fungi, bacteria, blue-green algae, mosses, ferns, gymnosperms and angiosperms. But these were I mean, it had varied or diverse group of organisms in which some of them were unicellular, some of them were multicellular, some of them had organs, while some of them did have only single cells, some of them had only a few tissues. So it was like a mixture kind of a thing. Okay, so it would have rather been, now I mean, as a result, now these organisms are no longer into group called as plants, but they are categorized into various kingdoms, which we will be discussing about. So we are discussing about Whittaker's system of classification, in which we have discussed the first kingdom, that is Monera. In this chapter we will be also learning about Protista and fungi. However, I will not include all these things in today's video because it will become lengthy, right? Now, Kingdom Monera includes bacteria which are present everywhere. We have discussed their features. They are unicellular, as in they have single cell. Then they are cellular in nature. That means they have their level of organization we have discussed about. They are prokaryotes. They do not have a nucleus or a nuclear membrane. Then we have discussed about the mode of nutrition. Some of these bacteria are autotrophs. They might be photosynthetic or chemosynthetic in nature. Some of them are heterotrophs, as in they might be dependent on dead plants and animals for nutrition, or living plants and animals for their nutrition, to acquire their nutrition, as in they are categorized as saprophytes and parasites. Bacteria come in varied shapes. Okay, they might appear round or spherical. They are called as cocci. They appear in the form of rod shapes, which is called as bacillus, or they might be in the form of a comma. Okay, right? This is not very appropriate. I don't think so. It's easy to draw in here. Anyway, let me give it a try. Okay, like in the form of a comma, right? This is called as vibrio, or some of them might be simply in the form of spiral, called as spiral. Let me redraw it. Okay, so these are the varied shapes in which bacteria occur. We will discuss about the two categories, or what would I call them to be? Yeah, based on their structure and also on the place where they are found, they can be categorized into archaebacteria and eubacteria. Okay, let me not take this at the moment. Let me cut this away. Okay. See, here you have a blown up image, of course from the internet, discussing about the types of bacteria. As I've already told you, the circular or spherical shaped bacteria are called as cocci plural, coccus singular. You need not have to worry about all this diplo, staphylo and all those. Okay, bacillus meaning a single rod shaped bacteria. Bacilli is the plural form of it. We've also discussed about vibrio, that is the bacteria which assumes the shape of a comma, and also the spirillum or the spirilla. Alright, so this helps us understand that bacteria are classified based on the shape, based on the region where they live or their habitats. Okay, and also on their mode of nutrition right? They can be grouped into, there is one more classification which says there are two groups of bacteria. One is RK bacteria and the other one being U bacteria. I don't want the topic or the video to get lengthy, I would rather stop this video here. U bacteria are also called as true bacteria, and of course this is not called as false bacteria. Okay, so in the next video I'll come back to you with the discussion of the further detailed video about Archaebacteria and Eubacteria. Okay, thank you so much for watching my video. Stay tuned for more such informative videos that will help you crack NEET biology. Until I see you the next time, stay safe. Please like, share and subscribe to PEBBLEZ Pedagogy. Take care. Bye-bye.